The North Atlantic is a mirror tonight, black glass stretching in every direction, broken only by the ship's wake. I stand on the aft deck, notebook tucked under my arm, the cold wind threading through the steel railings and over the open crates of artifacts we pulled from the seabed this morning. Everything smells of salt and rust, the same twin signatures of time and loss. I'm supposed to be cataloguing recovered items from the Kaldemir, a freighter lost in 1924 off the coast of Iceland. It's one of those ships swallowed by the war's aftermath, forgotten because it vanished in peacetime. No distress signal, no bodies, just an empty silence on the radio one night in September, and nothing after that. The ocean gives up her dead slowly, if at all. But today, she gave us something else. I glanced down at the wooden crate nearest my boots. Inside, wrapped in oilskin and caked with sediment, lies a small parcel recovered from the ship's officers' quarters. When we opened it hours ago in the lab, the contents were still damp but intact. A photograph mounted on thick backing, slightly warped, the image sealed beneath a layer of glass. It shows the crew of the Kaldemir, 12 men in crisp uniforms standing shoulder to shoulder on deck, the ship's rigging towering behind them like a cathedral of rope and iron. The image is dated August 1924, 1 month before the ship vanished. At first glance, the photograph seems ordinary. Too ordinary. The men stare straight at the camera, all of them except one, the third sailor from the right. His body is there, hands clasped behind his back, but where his face should be, there's only blur. Not damage, not overexposure. It's smooth, as if light itself refused to touch him. When we cleaned the surface, the emulsion didn't show the typical cracking or bubbling of age. It's perfect, perfectly wrong. I remember the diver who found it, Carter, saying through his comm feed that something about the cabin felt crowded. He thought he'd brushed another person's shoulder underwater, but when he turned, there was no one there. I'd laughed then, chalked it up to nerves, to the way the sea distorts space. But now, under the lamplight, that blurred face seems to pulse faintly, like something just beneath the glass is breathing. I jot down a note in my logbook. Item 47B, crew portrait, 12 men, 1 anomaly. Possible deliberate manipulation. Further study required. The hum of the generator below decks trembles through the soles of my boots. The ship is steady, anchored over the wreck site. Everyone else is asleep or pretending to be. I can't bring myself to go below. Every time I close my eyes, I see the faceless man standing among his crewmates, and it feels as though he knows he's being watched. I take the photograph into the lab. The room smells of ethanol and seawater, a thin mist still clinging to the microscope lenses from the day's condensation. I set the photo under the examination lamp, adjust the angle until the surface glare disappears. Under magnification, the faceless area reveals nothing. No brushwork, no retouching, just absence. Absence with depth. As I tilt the lens, I see something I hadn't before, beneath the blur, a faint texture, almost like waves etched into the emulsion. Lines rising and falling, converging around where the man's eyes should be. I lean closer. The pattern looks familiar. It's sonar interference, the kind we record when something metallic moves through deep water. A shiver runs through me. I scan the rest of the photograph. The ship's deck is sharp, detailed down to the bolts on the railing. Behind the men, the horizon curves faintly. The ocean looks calm, windless. And yet, there's a faint outline just beyond the rail, almost hidden in the exposure. A ripple of light, tall and thin. I checked the metadata logged earlier. Exposure time 1/10 of a second. Far too fast to capture motion blur like that. The captain, Burke, appears in the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. You're still at it? Can't sleep. He steps closer, squinting at the image. Looks like a normal photo to me. Except that one poor bastard. Except him, yes. Could just be bad film stock. It isn't, I say quietly. The others are perfect. It's only him. The blur's not chemical. It's structural. Like he wasn't there to begin with, but something filled the space where he should be. Burke gives me that look sailors give academics, the one halfway between amusement and pity. You're thinking ghosts again, Doc. I smile faintly. I'm thinking physics. And maybe a touch of superstition. He grunts and leaves me to my obsession. After he's gone, I lift the photograph again. The lamplight glances across the surface, and for a heartbeat, the glass fogs. A thin patch of condensation blooms right where the faceless man stands. I reach out instinctively, but it's gone before my fingers touch. I tell myself it's just the lab's humidity. I tell myself a lot of things tonight. By morning, the sea has changed. The wind is gone, and the horizon feels closer than it should be, like we've drifted into a basin. The sonar techs report minor static interference, rhythmic enough to resemble breathing. They laugh it off as equipment drift. I spend the morning cross-referencing shipping logs. The Koldermere departed Liverpool in August 1924, bound for Reykjavik, carrying medical supplies and machinery. The last radio transmission came 10 days later. Weather worsening. One crewman unwell. Continuing course, then silence. The crew manifest lists 12 names. 11 confirmed in naval records. The 12th, able seaman John Wren, appears nowhere else. No birth certificate, no previous service. It's as if he existed only on that ship. When I compare the names to the photograph, my stomach knots. Counting left to right, the blurred figure would be the 12th man. That evening, I take the photograph out again. The metal frame feels warmer than before, the glass faintly tacky as though it's absorbing moisture from the air. I think about the diver, Carter, about the way he'd described that cabin. Felt crowded, he said, like someone else was there. The door creaks. It's Thomas, one of the deckhands, his face pale under the fluorescent lights. "You've seen the dive feed?" he asks. "Not yet." "Why?" He hands me a tablet, the footage already cued. The camera's view drifts through the half-collapsed cabin of the Koldermere, silt rising like smoke. The crew's bunks lie in twisted heaps. Then the lens pans right, past the bulkhead where the photograph was found. Something moves at the edge of the frame. At first, it looks like a current, but then it resolves. Shoulders, a torso, a head, a man, standing motionless in the gloom, facing the wall. The camera's light flares, and for an instant, he turns. There's no face, only smooth, pale skin, like wax. The feed cuts out. Thomas exhales shakily. "We didn't see him down there." Not until we played it back. I replay the clip 3 times, frame by frame. The faceless figure doesn't move like a diver. There's no exhalation, no bubbles, no fins. Just stillness. When the camera flickers, the blur on his face vibrates in the same pattern I saw under magnification. Sonar interference. I glance at the photograph on the desk. The faceless man stands in the same position as in the footage. Third from the right. Tomas swallows. "You think it's him, don't you?" I can't bring myself to answer. That night, the ocean hums. The hull vibrates in irregular pulses, low enough to feel in bone rather than hear. Burke insists it's thermal expansion, but when I hold the photograph close to my ear, I swear I can hear a whisper threading through the glass. It's faint, rhythmic, a single word repeated over and over. Here. By 2 a.m., I'm done pretending I'm not afraid. I bring the photo to my cabin and lock it in a drawer. The moment I lie down, the generator falters, lights flicker, and I hear footsteps overhead, too heavy for one person, moving in unison, as if 12 men are walking the deck. When I check the corridor, it's empty. I stand there, barefoot on the cold metal floor, until the footsteps stop. Then, slowly, the ship settles back into silence. But as I turn to go back into my cabin, I see it. On the wall above my bunk, moisture has condensed into a shape. 12 blurred silhouettes, lined up side by side, and at the center of them, a single smear where a face should be. I've stopped sleeping. I live now between wakefulness and something else, something that feels like being watched from beneath the surface. I keep telling myself I'm not losing my mind, that I'm a historian, a rational observer of the past. But the past isn't behaving rationally. It's pressing outward. Tomorrow, Burke says, we'll raise one of the Caldemir's lifeboats. He wants me there to document it. I said yes because part of me hopes answers are buried down there. But I know better. The sea doesn't give answers. She gives warnings. And the photograph. God help me, the photograph is changing. The blur has begun to spread. We raise the lifeboat at dawn. The sea is calm again, glass flat, pale under the rising light. It shouldn't be this still. The sonar reads no movement, but ours. No current, no life. The winch groans as the cables tighten, drawing the barnacle-crusted remains of the boat toward daylight. I stand on deck beside Burke, camera in hand, trying to ignore how my breath ghosts in the air though the wind is warm. When the lifeboat breaches the surface, it comes up slow, spilling brine like blood from a wound. It's smaller than I imagined. Half the hull is missing, the ribs of the boat exposed like bones. But what strikes me most is the condition of the interior. The wood isn't splintered or decayed. It's smooth, polished, as though someone's hands have been sliding across it for years. The crane lowers the wreck onto the deck, and for a moment, no one speaks. Then Carter, the diver, mutters, "Look at that." I follow his gaze. Inside the boat lies a single object, a length of black oilcloth, rolled tight and tied with cord. Burke frowns. "Was that in the feed?" "No, sir," Carter says quietly. "That wasn't there when I found it." Burke cuts the cord with his knife and unrolls the cloth. Inside is a life jacket, perfectly preserved. The name stitched across the canvas reads, J. Wren. The air seems to fold in on itself. Someone drops a wrench. I don't even flinch. All I can do is stare at the stitched letters, the 12th name from the manifest, the faceless sailor. Burke clears his throat. "Get it to the lab. Now." By afternoon, I'm alone again in the lab. The others are outside arguing about ballast, pretending nothing is wrong. The life jacket lies on the table beside the photograph. I can't help noticing how the oilcloth left faint black streaks on the steel surface, like fingerprints. I switch on the lamp and study the jacket. It's early 20th century issue, Royal Navy style, though the Caldemir was a civilian freighter. The material is too clean. Even the brass buckles shine faintly. I pick it up, and the smell hits me. Brine and something else. Iron. Like rust that isn't rust at all. A chill prickles up my arm. Then, from somewhere behind me, I hear a slow creak, the sound of the hull settling, or footsteps above the deck. The light flickers. I glance back at the photograph on the desk. The blur has grown darker, more defined. The shape now resembles a human outline, a suggestion of cheekbones beneath that blank surface. I lower the lamp closer. Something glints within the blur, as if caught in suspension. I adjust the focus and freeze. Inside the smooth expanse of emulsion, beneath the sailor's missing face, a reflection has appeared. Not of me, not of the lab. It's water, dark, moving, with ripples forming outward. As I watch, a single bubble rises from that depth and bursts silently against the glass. I drop the photo. It lands, face up. The bubble mark is gone, but the faint ring of moisture remains, spreading slowly. We open the ship's log from the Caldemir later that evening, a final relic retrieved from the captain's quarters. Most of the pages are gone, the ink dissolved, but the last entry survives. The handwriting is tight, frantic, written by a man who expected no one to read it. Crew afflicted by dreams. One claims to hear the sea speaking through the bulkhead. The new man, Wren, grows quiet. Says he has no name now, only the call. Says he was never born, only found. I intend to confine him below until we reach port. The entry ends abruptly. Burke exhales a long curse. Some poor bastard gone mad. Probably took them all with him. I say nothing. Because in the corner of that final page, smeared in rust or dried salt, there's an imprint, the faint shape of a palm, and when the light catches it, I can count 5 fingers. At midnight, I wake to a metallic clatter. The ship rocks, though the sea is flat. The lights along the corridor flicker, one by one, like breath moving down a throat. I follow the sound to the lab. The door stands open. The lamp inside swings gently on its cord. The photograph lies on the floor. The faceless sailor is gone. In his place stands an empty outline, a void the exact shape of a man, black and depthless. The rest of the crew still stand in the picture, staring ahead, unaware that one of them has left. I feel a pulse beneath my feet, like the heartbeat of the ship. The air tastes of salt and oil. Then I hear it, the slow scrape of boots on metal coming from the companionway below. I move toward the door, but the lights die. The darkness feels thick enough to touch. I back into the lab, fingers fumbling for the emergency switch. The generator hums, coughs, and dies. Silence. And then breathing, right beside me. When the emergency light finally kicks in, a figure stands at the end of the corridor, uniform, cap low over his forehead. His face, no, not a face at all. Smooth, featureless. He's holding something, the life jacket. He takes one step forward, and every surface in the lab ripples as though submerged underwater. The photograph on the floor begins to glow faintly, silver light bleeding from its edges. The other sailor's eyes shimmer like mercury. I back away until my shoulders hit the bulkhead. "What do you want?" I whisper. The faceless man tilts his head. The glass of the photograph cracks. Through that splintered surface, I glimpse something impossible. The deck of the Caldermere under stormlight, the crew standing frozen, their mouths open in silent screams as water climbs their legs. At the center of it all, Wren turns toward me, his smooth face catching the lightning, his hand outstretched. For an instant, I see what lies beneath the blur, not absence, but too many features, layered, shifting, as though a dozen drowned men are pressing their faces through his. The glass shatters. The sound knocks me backward. The light floods white. When my vision clears, the figure is gone. The photograph lies blackened, edges smoking, the emulsion blistered. Morning comes slow, grey, and sickly. No one speaks about the night. Burke claims it was a power surge. The crew moves like ghosts. We prepare to leave the wreck site. I help secure the recovered artifacts, what's left of them. The photograph is sealed in a steel case. Burke says it'll go to the Maritime Museum in London. I tell him it shouldn't. He doesn't answer. As we pull away from the coordinates, the sonar picks up a faint echo. It's not the wreck. It's moving. 12 returns, then 11, then 10. One by one they fade until only one remains. Burke stares at the monitor. What the hell is that? The signal pulse slows, then stops. That night, as we cross back into open waters, I wake to the sound of something knocking against the hull. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. I go to the porthole. In the moonlight, the sea is still, but just below the surface, pale shapes move, 12, maybe 13, suspended in the water, drifting beside us. I press my hand to the glass. The cold burns. One of the shapes drifts closer, rising until it touches the hull. A face looks back at me. Not faceless now, but every face I've ever known, flickering one atop another like reflections in broken glass. It mouths something. I can't hear the words, but I know what they mean. Here, when I wake the next morning, there's a thin film of salt on the inside of the window. My reflection looks wrong. Weeks later, back on land, I hand over my report to the museum board. They ask if there's evidence of foul play. I tell them yes, but not the kind they're equipped to understand. The photograph is stored in their climate-controlled vault now, sealed behind glass and code. I tell myself it's safe there, that he's contained. But every time I visit the archive, the lights flicker, the humidity gauge drops, and in the corner of the viewing window, in the reflection of my own face, I sometimes see a man in uniform standing just behind me, head tilted, faceless, holding a life jacket. I still dream of the sea. Always the same horizon, flat and endless. Always the same voice rising from below. Sometimes it says my name. Sometimes it says his. And sometimes, when I wake and the mirror above my sink fogs on its own, it says nothing at all. Just one word scratched faintly into the glass, letters trailing salt and water.